Let's keep things straightforward, as the term AI can be understood in many different ways. Different people may interpret it in various ways. To me, AI refers to the developments of the past few years, particularly when OpenAI began introducing large language models. These days, when we discuss AI, especially on platforms like YouTube, we are usually referring to this specific type of AI. Of course, AI did not emerge only in the last few years. In fact, forms of AI existed 40 or 50 years ago, though they were quite different from today's versions. Earlier forms of AI, developed before OpenAI's innovations, were mainly used for research and by researchers. Today, thanks to OpenAI's large language models, AI is accessible to everyone. Otherwise, few people would have taken much interest in AI. I have been working in the field of AI for more than 30 years, yet during that time, few people ever talked about it or engaged me in discussions on the topic. It's only in recent years that we've begun to actively talk about AI. So today, I'm going to show you the AI developments that have taken place over the past 2 or 3 years, rather than those from 40 years ago. Alright, and I'm quite sure most of you have used ChatGPT, since it's very user-friendly and feels much like conversing with a person. You can ask any kind of question, whether simple or complex, and it can provide an accurate answer most of the time. Almost perfect. In other words, it provides responses that are genuinely helpful and valuable. Unlike earlier versions of AI, which often produced amusing but mostly unhelpful results, this one provides much more practical responses. Alright, and I'm quite sure you've also recently come across this impressive AI-generated video. Alright, although we refer to AI as a large language model, it actually goes beyond language. It also works with other forms of media such as audio and speech recognition. When I speak, the AI can instantly recognize my words, convert them into text, and then allow further processing or actions based on that text. AI systems also work with images. For example, when a picture of your face is taken, the system can recognize it with remarkable accuracy thanks to artificial intelligence. Previously, they often made recognition errors. Alright, in any case, the improved accuracy is what makes modern AI practical, widely used, and a topic of discussion everywhere. In the case of text, we use what is called prompting. You write a question or a statement, and the AI generates a response based on that input, which is referred to as a prompt. I believe most people are already quite familiar with text-based AI. Today, I will focus on video-based AI, a video solution powered by the image recognition capabilities of artificial intelligence. Specifically, I was asked to discuss the topic of scams if possible. Unfortunately, the video capabilities of this AI extend beyond legitimate uses and can also be misused for scams. When many people first heard about this, they began asking, "Are you planning to use it to deceive or take advantage of people?" No. In fact, this video-capable AI has many positive and practical applications. I'll briefly highlight how everyone can benefit from it, rather than focusing only on potential misuse or scams. That provides a brief introduction to the AI topic I'll be discussing. I'll do my best to cover as much as possible within this hour, and hopefully, there will be time at the end for a few short questions. Alright, these are the 4 topics we will be covering. The first part will be a brief introduction to AI. Since my background is in this field, I'll also touch on language models, just a little, not too deep, to help set the stage for why we emphasize that the future is visual and video-focused. Many researchers suggest that our grandchildren might be the last generation to prioritize reading and writing, as the shift toward other forms of communication may occur even sooner than expected. What percentage of your daily time do you spend reading compared to watching videos? You likely spend more time watching videos now than reading books or newspapers. That percentage will likely continue to rise over time, eventually reaching a point where reading becomes less of a priority for most people. So yes, perhaps the research being discussed is accurate, since video and visual content have become so convenient that we now learn not only by reading books or articles, but also through watching. When I mention watching, I don't mean the way we currently do. It's not just watching YouTube videos on a computer or smart TV. In the future, we probably won't watch content in the same way. It's likely to become a more immersive experience with other possible forms of interaction. Smart TVs may eventually become obsolete, much like Kodak did. Our computers might also evolve and no longer look or function the way they do today. That change is likely to happen quite soon, and hopefully we'll be able to make the most of it when the time comes. Next, I'll likely demonstrate how the power of AI-generated videos can be misused for fraudulent activities. And it's not only used for scams, it can also generate a large number of misleading or flawed videos and other content. This has become quite common on platforms like YouTube, where you may come across various videos that are clearly misleading or contain inaccurate information. I also hope to spend more time with you exploring its positive and beneficial uses. Beyond analyzing visuals, this visual technology, powered by a large image model rather than a language or video model, can also be applied to develop practical and valuable solutions. At USM, we are actively developing this technology to support learning and development, particularly to help educators enhance their teaching methods in the future. And we'll likely have a brief discussion at the end during the question and answer session. Alright, so at this point, I won't go through it myself, but I'll introduce you to the first element of AI.
It's the same slide, but this time it includes an introduction. The speaker may not be the best, but I promise not to keep it too long. In the future, you'll be able to submit any slide or image to Gemini, currently available now, and similar capabilities will soon be offered by OpenAI as well.
The AI will generate an audio file, similar to a narrated postcard, that introduces and explains the content of the slide or image. Are you saying you'll share a link to your credentials? No, not exactly, not at this point. This is a simple tool where you can submit an image, such as this slide showing my profile, and the AI will generate a video or audio description explaining its content. This demonstrates how advanced AI technology can become. The system can not only identify the elements within the content, but also interpret them in detail and generate a personalized narrative that introduces me. The video I just played is the one from this storytelling session. Exactly. In the future, if you want to present something, you can simply upload your slide or image, and the system will create a well-crafted story and video for you. Sometimes we face challenges. I'm not sure if it's due to our listening skills, and having subtitles can also be helpful. Alright, this is the first AI tool I use to help introduce myself to you. Alright, next we'll cover a bit of theory since I'm teaching AI. I just need to explain a little, so don't worry. When we discuss large language models, the main concept to focus on is the language model itself. So, what exactly is a language model? Language models have been applied in AI research at USM, particularly in my research unit, across various areas. However, for now, let's focus solely on the language model itself. Alright, essentially, a language model works like this. If you have a few words, for example, Shanghai is a city in... Can you guess the next word? It would be China, right? This shows that you naturally have a kind of language model in your mind that helps you predict the most suitable next word. In computer science, we use statistical models to calculate the most likely next word, allowing the sentence to continue logically. Similarly, large language models, such as the ChatGPT you are using now, operate in this manner. Based on the given input, the model continues generating one word after another until it reaches a sufficient length and then stops. That is the output presented to you. It's essentially a process of predicting the most suitable next word. Before the development of advanced models by OpenAI, such predictions were often not very effective. Because unless the example is something very straightforward, such as Shanghai is a city in China, the model would likely have difficulty predicting the correct word. However, in many cases, it would produce an incorrect word because language models at that time were extremely limited in size and capability. We likely trained on only a portion of the available text data. But now we refer to it as a large language model, truly large because it is trained on an extensive collection of text from across the internet. In fact, this advancement became possible primarily due to the existence of the internet. Without the internet, we wouldn't have large language models, as it would be impossible for anyone to gather the vast amount of text required for their training. Of course, We should also acknowledge companies like NVIDIA and others for providing high-performance processing systems and cloud infrastructure capable of handling and storing such vast amounts of data. All of these tremendous resources and efforts are what enabled OpenAI to reach such a remarkable achievement. It's not only due to OpenAI's intelligence, but also because the conditions have developed to this point, making it possible for large language models to be created. Since it has been trained on an extensive portion of the internet, it naturally possesses broader knowledge than any individual person. After all, no one has read all the content available online. No, I don't believe any human could accomplish that. That's why the intelligence demonstrated by this large language model exceeds most of our collective knowledge and expertise.
All right, that's the essence of what a language model is, and the crucial aspect is its large scale.
For instance, if a short piece of text is processed by the large language model and it mentions that USM's main campus is situated on Penang Island, the model would correctly identify the location as Penang. This serves as an example. If you'd like, this diagram illustrates the transformer architecture, the core mechanism behind building and utilizing large language models. Of course, we could discuss this framework extensively, but we won't go into detail here. This illustration will suffice. As I often mention, there's no need to dive into the technical details, but it remains an interesting topic. All right, we need to understand what it is, how it can be applied, and in what ways it can benefit us. So, what exactly is it? You can probably picture it as something like this. It's similar to how our minds develop language skills, by learning from a vast amount of text, data, and speech. In fact, this mirrors how we acquire language ourselves. We acquire language by reading, or, even before that, by listening to the people around us as they speak. At first, we learn simple words like papa or mama, and gradually, someone teaches us to recognize letters and characters, helping us learn to read. As we learn to read, we begin writing sentences, essays, poems, legal documents, and various other types of text. After learning to write, we naturally improve our reading skills, and most of the time, after reading, we are able to answer certain questions. That reflects our level of understanding, and naturally, we can also talk about various topics. Basically, from a piece of text, we can generate speech. This process is what computer science refers to as text-to-speech. Conversely, listening works in the opposite way. We hear something and are then able to transcribe it into written text. This capability is now being adopted by most of the latest language models. For example, OpenAI models can generate written text.
OpenAI is highly capable of answering questions effectively. It can comprehend written text naturally and is also able to reason logically.
Before OpenAI, accuracy had never reached 70%, meaning that out of every 10 words, about 3 were incorrect. Now, the accuracy rate is nearly 99.999%. This is the technology we are currently using at USM to provide live interpretation services.
For instance, while I'm giving this lecture, if my computer starts the program, you can open your smartphone and watch a live YouTube stream of my talk in any of 30 available languages. That would be much more convenient, wouldn't it? It means you don't necessarily need to learn English.
In today's multipolar world, it's unlikely that anyone will concentrate solely on English. They will likely continue to use their native languages more frequently. In the future, this type of technology will be highly essential, and OpenAI's latest language model is already capable of supporting it effectively. If you'd like to try it out, you can visit USM, where our AI lab has installed 30 units of this system.
You simply select the language you prefer, and the content will adapt to that choice. The entire video isn't limited to subtitles, we also handle the voiceover.
Alright, this is essentially built upon this feature, its language capabilities, and related functionalities. If you supply a large amount of images and videos for training, the system can then interpret and generate new images and videos. Now, with the latest version called Germanized, though I'm not sure why it has that name, it's referred to as Nano Banana. You can provide any picture and request, for example, to enhance it into a more professional-looking image. I'll demonstrate an example later, and it will adjust according to whatever you need. For me, having written programs for more than 30 to 40 years, I can now create them in a much easier way. I simply ask the OpenAI system to write it for me, and it's done. Of course, it's not completely perfect for me. I still need to know what I want and give the OpenAI system clear instructions about what I'd like to achieve.
Only then can the system create a program for me. I still need to handle the higher level control and overall management myself. At the very least, it has greatly helped me accelerate many programming tasks. In the past at USM, we had a team of researchers working together to implement certain projects.
Now I can handle everything on my own, a single person developing the entire system. And that's what SAM represents. SAM refers to OpenAI. He used to promote it everywhere.
If everyone can use my OpenAI tools effectively, they could become highly capable individuals.
The concept of a super individual is now being promoted widely, emphasizing how you can transform yourself into a highly capable person by making use of these tools to achieve your goals. Especially when you possess extensive experience and expertise, now is likely the perfect time to put it into action, using these powerful tools to accomplish something truly meaningful. Everyone has the opportunity to become a highly capable individual in their own field. All right, I'll just proceed with 2 use cases. There are many others, but for me, these 2 are the ones I use most often to support my growth as a highly capable individual and to help with brainstorming ideas. In the past, we would usually say, let's have a meeting to discuss this. Now, I can simply have that discussion with OpenAI, which works just as well. After that, you can create various types of content based on your brainstorming, making the process even more effective. Honestly, I'm not sure if I need this microphone. All right, can you hear me clearly? Yes, brainstorming essentially serves as a source of inspiration. Now, regarding how OpenAI can assist, you've probably already tried it yourselves. When you ask something, it doesn't just provide an answer. In many cases, it also offers improved ideas, better solutions, additional points, and more content to consider, and that's exactly what I'm looking for.
All right, this is typically what happens for most of us.
When you're about to begin something new, you often face the challenge of not knowing where to start. That's why we need friends. They usually go together, karaoke and discussion. No, I don't need anything else, just GPT. When you ask for ideas, you'll receive something in return. Most of the time, you'll get content you might not have considered before, and that's how, gradually, it becomes clear that you shouldn't rely on GPT for just a single attempt. You'll likely need to interact with GPT several times. They provide an initial answer, you refine it slightly, and then ask again based on the improved version to gain more ideas. In the end, once you've gathered enough content, you simply need to organize it step by step and conduct a final review. Please compose a well-structured article, email, or proposal based on the points provided below, presenting it in a polished and refined manner. For instance, if you work in the media industry, you can begin by asking about the current key trends. Gain some understanding, identify key points, ask further questions, and continue refining your insights. Once you've gathered enough information, make a final request. Write a proposal for me. Often, people are surprised and wonder how, after previously asking you to write a proposal, you've now produced such an impressive one. I softly replied that I had dedicated 24 hours of effort for you. So, this might be the reason behind this question. This highlights an important point. The current trend revolves around streaming, and live streaming, in particular, is an opportunity you shouldn't overlook. Since it's usually free and offers unlimited storage, you can stream this lecture live on YouTube. I don't need to pay any fees to YouTube. Right now, I'm only recording, but I can choose to live stream anytime I want. The advantage of live streaming is that your content will be saved on YouTube. You only need to sign in with a Google account to get started.
It offers free, unlimited storage, allowing you to live stream and save as many videos as you like.
That also serves as a recording of any presentation you've given. And remember, as I mentioned earlier, video is the way forward now. Once you have a video, you can make many enhancements. After that, I'll show you how. It's important now to record everything related to your work or any other projects you're involved in. That recording can be used as input for OpenAI to explore more details, make further improvements, or turn it into a book, postcard, blog, or other creative work. Alright, I won't go into too much detail about text capabilities today, as we'll be focusing on video instead. I'll be focusing on creative content other than text, such as human-like voice, imagery, and digital painting, which you already know how to create. Music is also possible, but our main focus will be on human-like voices, images, and video content. Alright, here I've listed the capabilities that large language models or AI systems currently possess.
Creating original written content, generating images, producing speech, composing music, and creating videos. Here, I'll show you a few examples.